No floating head today, I've evolved. I have a body now. Every server needs a dueling arena. We need a place to practice PvP and figure out our builds, other than just out in the open sand, willy-nilly, and roaming hoping we find something. One would think that they maybe would have put something like that in the player hubs to actually make what is intended to be a social hub more social, but I digress. So, a guild on my server decided to build an arena, of which they established their own rules. The main rule being, if you full death your opponent, you in turn are to be executed. The other rule is no healing. That's frowned upon in the arena. So, main rules, no healing, and do not full death. Now, if people are itching for PvP and want to practice that on my server, people are able to. I run a ranged build, primarily ranged, and here are some of the key things I've learned to make that build as best as possible for my playstyle. The build I specifically run has the Suspensor Belt, Wire Claw, and the Gravity Nade. The most important thing to remember is it's about draining your opponent's stamina more than anything, as well as maintaining your own stamina being full, of course, but you want to deplete theirs as much as possible. The Suspensor Belt is key for my build and how I play, because it's able to counteract anything a melee build is going to throw at me. If not to stagger, it's to create some distance and potentially drain their stamina some. If they get hit by the blast, it depends how much of a charge I've put into it, how far they are from my character when it happens, and that determines whether they just get staggered or if they get a little bit of damage and some stamina drain inflicted upon them. By that I mean if they go to exert any stamina, the drain is then amplified. When activating this ability, you can charge it up and you'll see like a little blink when it happens when it's fully charged, and this will create more damage and cause more of a stagger. However, your opponent is going to catch on to that very fast, so they'll likely start running, but you can psych them out and just dodge out of it and it cancels the move. However, if you do the blast move and it's fully enacted, your opponent can use the crippled ability or the Jesuit teleporting ability, what's it called? Weirding Step. And it seems like it creates some like iframes with it, where you activating your ability negates your opponent's ability and it just becomes a stalemate. Now, if you're on a cooldown timer with these set abilities, you can dodge out of it if you're on top of paying attention to what your opponent's doing. Just remember, it's more about who can drain whose stamina, and even if you dodge away from that, you've just drained more of your own stamina, and in turn, giving your opponent leverage. When your ability is up in the air and in effect, you can't be staggered or stunned. I tried doing this with a Wire Claw, and guess what? Nothing happened. All that I got was, a cooldown timer. So, keep that in mind. Like I said earlier, if you are impacted by the blast, if you try to dodge while that effect is still on you, it drains your stamina even further. Keeping that in mind, pair it with a drill shot or disruptor, and it can be pretty dang brutal. Drill shot's great, no matter the tier, especially since no one knows what tier your weapon is, so they see the drill shot animation and they're guaranteed gonna be like, oh shit, I should dodge. Stamina drain. If they're under the effect of the Suspensor Blast, and you immediately hit them with the drill shot, you're making them gamble. Do I dodge and drain my stamina more, or do I just take the hit? Either way, it's not a good situation for them. Wire is great for closing distance or creating it. I tend to use it to distance myself to regenerate more stamina, but I also use it to close that distance to get some more hits in. If you see your opponent trying to get away from you because they are in fact trying to regain their stamina, Wire Claw, close that distance, stabby stabby stab, drains their shield and stamina, try to get a heavy hit in there, they have no choice to dodge. More stamina drain. If you're low on stamina, parries can be your saving grace, especially if you're using a jolt blade or something similar. I don't know what the sword version of that is, but usually it has a jolt in the name. And those, when you parry, you get more stamina. Even if you don't have one of those, that parry causes your opponent to get knocked back a bit, giving you just that little bit of breathing room that you quite possibly need. The only caveat is getting the timing down for that is not easy. It's a little funky in this game. I'm still trying to get the hang of it. I feel like I'm pretty good at parries in most any other game. I love Souls-like, so you would think I would be good at parries. I'm not. I am dog water at it. But mileage varies. I've seen some people get parries on point every single time, and it baffles me. So practice makes perfect. That all said, even though I'm running a ranged build, I've still allocated points within the Bene Gesserit tree and the Swordmaster tree to give myself more health, more damage on blades, and more stamina. And stamina recovery, health recovery, those passives. You're going to need every little bit of stamina, and it's important to have that damage output for when you're able to get your melee hits in. The last ability I usually have equipped is the Gravnade. I like using this to redirect my opponent's trajectory. I'll throw it out there, hopefully getting them trapped in it, but really all I'm doing is trying to get myself a bit of breathing room. Probably trying to get more stamina, that way I can get some drill shots in and close the gap and hit them with the blade. If you do manage to get them within this AoE, it greatly drains their shield, slows them down. Imagine hitting them with a disruptor or drill shot while they're in this AoE, their shield's gone. Or they have to dodge, which they're not going to really move anywhere, so really all they're going to do is drain even more of their stamina, leaving themselves even more vulnerable. That being said, it's quite difficult to manage to trap your opponent within that field, unless you have them kind of cornered. As for weapons, I'm going to talk tier 5, not tier 6, because not everybody's going to have easy access to the tier 6 weapons. I like having the 5 fingers sniper rifle, the adept triple shot, I think is the schematic name for it. As for the blade, I like using the, what's it called, the moisture sealer, I think is the name for it. It's the knife that does fire damage on heavy attacks or repeated light attacks. And then for shield depletion, unless you have a tier 5 unique or higher for the disruptor pistol, it will not stagger. So I go with the drill shot. Like I said before, doesn't matter the tier of the drill shot, it's going to put panic in your opponent no matter what. Remember, it's not about depleting their shield, it's about depleting their stamina. Then you close the gap and get some stabby stabs in. To get a good feel of how to do stamina drain on your opponent while maintaining your own stamina to be up, I would highly recommend doing naked fights with a salvaged blade. This way, it'll help you practice good rotation for your abilities, baiting your opponent to do their ability and put it on cooldown so then you can counteract with your own, so on and so forth. Like for example, I would try to bait my opponent, who's primarily doing a melee build, to do their knee strikes, to do, which by the way, you can very easily just sidestep out of the way of those most of the time. I don't know if this guy just was not leading his target or what, but that ability seems very easily dodged. I would try to coax them to use that ability or their crippled ability or their weirding step when they teleport behind me, and usually I would counter it with a suspensor blast or something like that. That way, their ability's on cooldown, they can't negate my ability with their own, and it leaves them vulnerable and or drained further on stamina. Because either way, they'll likely end up dodging, in turn draining their stamina. If they get hit by the ability, then that's just further draining their stamina. Even if you run a ranged build, end goal is to drain stam, close the gap, get some stabs in. Ranged weapons are a means to put stress into your enemy. Poison damage to tick down their health bar. Fire damage to tick down their health bar. Drill shot to tick down their stamina. Seems like a pretty good combo. It is for me at least. And then I can close that gap. And because I have passives allocated for blade damage, I can hit them pretty hard. The whole point of me putting together this video is to try to encourage everyone to have an arena on their server because it helps foster sportsmanship as well as just getting better at the game within a dense, safe environment rather than putting it out there at risk and potentially just, well, I mean, you're not going to lose it all unless they have that voted in land strat, but you're less likely to lose durability this way. Hence the rule of if you full death your opponent, you are then in turn to be executed to make things fair. Hopefully we can figure something out to where we can do a similar thing with ornithopters. I mean, I guess you could do target practice in Haga Basin and just shoot each other in a fake dogfight and maybe be like, okay, whoever gets to this many shots landed first wins the match or something. We're in a sandbox without any toys, so we gotta figure something out in the meantime. Hopefully Funcom puts in more opportunities for us to practice dogfighting before we go into the deep desert and just have to engage in PvP and potentially lose our ornithopter. I don't know. There's a thought for now, though. Try dogfighting in the PvE section and just have some sort of rule set in place, and as long as everybody's on the same page, it should be fine. With all that in mind, everybody have fun out there, try to get better at PvP, because preferably that's not going to go anywhere. So may as well learn the systems and get good at it. That way you can survive in the more intense situations that are intended to be as such in the deep desert. Anywho, that's all I got for this one. I appreciate you all for watching. I will be live every Wednesday through Saturday from now on. Hop on to stream, say hi. I don't know what I'll be doing, but I'll be doing something. Enjoy the rest of your day, morning, evening, whatever it may be for you. I appreciate you.